One of my favorites though is the first time I ever got an autograph from Jackie Chan. He signed this beautiful Operation Condor book for me.
Yeah.
Great to meet you, Mayak. And I was like, okay. Like, it's like even the simple name he's not gonna always get right. But yeah, names here get bizarre and like I'm Big Mike because when I first came to Hong Kong, there was about 15 Mikes doing movies.
Of course.
So you rapidly became Big Mike, Small Mike, Australian Mike, German Mike, Crazy Mike, blah, 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 blah. One guy turned up and was like, my name is Michael Ted Johan. And we're like, your name is TJ. All the mics have been taken, Kino Lorber announced it, and someone posted, oh man, they should get you and Mike to do the commentary. And we were like, yeah, Kino Lorber, we'd be up for it. And then like 2 weeks later, one of the guys from Kino Lorber was like, yeah, hi Mike, would you guys be up for doing Hard Target? And that was the start. And we've done a couple more movies. We've just, myself and Arne have contributed to the Missing in Action box set for them. Yeah, we did
Chuck
Guys
Norris,
Wear
baby.
Black for them. And when I tracked down Wong Jun Lee for Hong Kong Legends, and I flew out, and this was when the mysterious Wong Jun Lee lives on an island in the South Korean Sea. No, he doesn't want you to find him. And I land at the airport, and there's a big sign that says Master Wong Jun Lee's Taekwondo and Hapkido Academy. I'm like, I don't think he's keeping low profile. We shot like a 7-hour interview with him.
Holy shit.
Like covering everything. And it was so funny because he began the interview very regal. And as soon as I mentioned, okay, so let me get this right. You were born in Japan, right? Oh, and I want to talk to you about when you killed the guy in Vietnam. He was like, you got my stuff.
My murders. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sometimes people, it's going to make me sound like an old idiot, but I am an old idiot. What am I talking about? But yeah, but you know how like in the good old days, in the olden days, you fell in love with a genre or a film and you tracked it down, and you'd watch all these movies. Okay, I think I recognize that guy or that name, blah 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 blah, and that's how you fell in love with the genre.
Yeah,
there's a certain amount of people who saw, say, a Hong Kong movie or a horror movie by a director and went, oh, that was great. Google 10 best Hong Kong movies ever made.
Oh, yeah.
Saw them all in a weekend, and then they're like, oh, the rest of them don't compare to this. And you're like,
right.
Yeah, because you saw all the best ones in a week.
Yeah.
I remember where I'd go to Chinatown and it'd be like, Andy Lau is in this movie. It could be a comedy. It could be an action movie. It could be a combination.
I think
let's go see it.
Are we starting the interview yet, or
we're just kind of hanging out? I can. Let's get an actual intro in then.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Hello there, and welcome back to The Disconnected. I am here with Arne, Venema, and Big Mike Leeder, two of the most entertaining commentators and Blu-ray contributors in the world, in my opinion. Guys, thank you so much for making time for this. This has been something we've been working on for quite some time with Mike.
Thank you very much for that great intro. The check is in the mail.
There you go. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. Everybody, please take note. Very good.
His name is, you got to say Arne like banana, okay? And it will work. Yeah.
You got to say it with the accent, though. Otherwise, it's wrong.
Yeah, Arne.
Arne!
For those that don't know, Arne and Mike are on the ground in Hong Kong, both living and working there, and they are like the boots on the ground for the operations for some of these boutique Blu-ray companies. What all do you guys say that you do, even? Because obviously you're doing like 29 different part-time jobs at once, it seems like.
Yeah. Mike, you want to go first?
Okay. I'm a casting director for film and TV, a producer, an occasional actor myself when the budget's too low and I can't find someone to take the role. I also do consultancy work for a few companies. And then I came to Hong Kong 30 odd years ago as a fan of Hong Kong movies, and I used to edit Impact magazine talking about Hong Kong and action movies internationally. So I've done a lot of writing for magazines and books. And then I was lying in the gutter, and young Mr. Venema said, "Get out of the gutter, you're blocking it. Let's do some audio commentaries." Yeah.
Well, the truth of the matter is we met on a set, actually. We met on a set of a film that never was completed.
Yes.
And that's kind of
where I had a strip club in a comic book shop.
Yeah, and I think I was my character
Mike's
stealing
comic
something.
strip club. Yeah,
and I think my character, along with Joe Farella, was stealing stuff from the strip club. Yeah. And then between takes he met. So basically, my background is I've run media production companies in Hong Kong. I've also one of my companies is also being a merchandising company. So we worked with companies that, like, for example, it merchandise for 50 Cent, Eminem, all that stuff. We worked with H&V, got the clothing into the stores and things like that. I've done designer toys as well. I'm on record labels. I've got albums out, and my production company CFK. We've done a lot of like promo videos, interviews, and everything else for like tons of companies. So we've shot stuff for South China Morning Post, aka Gold Thread. We've worked with Mixmag occasionally. I've just done tons of that. So yeah, media production, like in terms of music, in terms of commercials, in terms of interviews. You name it. So, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of really cool people. Everybody from like the producers of Street Fighter 2 to Choi Hark, along with Mike, to like, you name it. So, we kind of do a bit of everything, and there's constantly stuff going on. So, and I think you'll hear a lot more in 2023. I'm always doing like basically what I do in the media side, but I've always got little projects going on this side, whether or not. And there's a lot of new stuff coming out in 2023 that I haven't done before, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah, but in terms of like,
you make a lot of your own music too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on a few different record labels, and I started making music because I was doing videos that were playing in Toys R Us and stuff like that. And I was dealing with musicians, and they kind of were like telling me, "Oh, it costs this and this much of that. It takes me that long." No, it doesn't, because I'm making music myself. I started making music for those videos, and then record labels started hearing, going, "Who's making the music for that?" I go, because I couldn't say it was me in the beginning. I go, "Hey, it was so and so," and like eventually I had to say, "Yeah, it was me." And then basically like I ended up putting out a lot of music with different record labels and stuff. And my music also being licensed by like Adidas to play in stores in here and in China and things like that as well. So the music side's fun. Like electronic music mostly. And I play live a lot as well. I just played live in Thailand for the first time like 2-3 weeks ago, I think. So just got back, so that was really fun. Yeah. So
was that before or after the skateboarding?
We just had kind of like 3 years of lockdown.
So after 3 years of lockdown, I went to Thailand, and I landed in Chiang Mai. Never been there before. The night that I landed, I played live with a bunch of guys, Psy Modular and Vox Machina, really cool dudes. Then I went off to Thailand, was there for 2 weeks. I'm finally off in Thailand. I'm relaxing. I've been in Hong Kong for 3.5 years. I got back and I was hanging out with Mike Chan, who's been in Hong Kong movies. And basically we're like, we went out like the night before Halloween, and we're like, let's go skateboarding. So we're skateboarding at like 3 a.m. in an area called Checo's Beachside Town, and I felt like I broke my arm. So like it was right here. So yeah, as you do. So yeah, that's how I ended up my vacation days. I would have broke my arm.
See, he's the wild and crazy one. I've retired from all that.
Yeah.
Do you guys know how many audio commentaries you've done together so far?
We have a rough estimate. I try and keep track of it, but to be honest, it's a little hard sometimes. We're around the 80 plus mark right now. So we're getting close to 100. So I have an Excel sheet with all the stuff on there.
Good.
So I'm the one who keeps track of all the stuff like that. Yeah.
I meant what I said at the beginning. You guys are obviously one of the most compelling, energetic, exciting people to listen to on some of these commentaries. And what, obviously I can just gush all day long, but what do you think you bring?
Please.
Go ahead. What do you as a team bring uniquely to some of these commentaries, just to try to entice some people to listen more?
How to say, like, I think it's we'd like to keep it.
Yeah. I think we're huge nerds. And I was
trying to find a nice way to say that. Yeah.
I think back in the day where it was not cool to be a nerd, now it's cool, and basically do audio commentaries. No, I think we like to keep things kind of loose and fun. I mean, we know a lot about these movies and stuff, but I think our main concept with it is just keep the energy there and have fun watching it. And I think it's same thing with any media production that you do, like be it music or film, whatever. If you have fun doing it, like obviously not too much fun, but if you have like keep it somewhat serious, but if you have fun doing it and keep the energy there, people feel that they'll connect with the audiences at home. And people said it's like hanging out with your friends. And in some way it's like that. I mean, we do our research and we're serious that we give good information and accurate information, stuff like that. But we just like hang out and watching movies, and hopefully people at home have that as well. We could just read out facts the whole time, but
no, and that's the problem, that sometimes you've got that where, you know, someone's reading out whelm after whelm of stuff and you're going, that's great, but it's so obvious. You're literally just going, and then, you know, Ryan was born on this day and at 7:55 a.m. This, you know, and you're like, really? You know, and I think it's having that sentence, having the enthusiasm. Like, there's some movies where young Mr. Venema will have to slap me to stop my enthusiasm and vice, because you know, like, because there's some movies that I've been like, okay, we should do another commentary because there's still so much we haven't discussed.
Right.
And there's some movies where we're able to bring, like, you know, from working with people who've worked on them, from talking to people on those movies, sometimes to having been on them ourselves or whatever. It's, you know, it's a love for the genre, and without trying to be like, listen to me, boy, I'm gonna lecture you. You know, this that's not the commentary I want to hear. You know, I want to hear the interesting. You know, sometimes on commentary you'll hear stuff and you go, I never thought of that. I've never come in from that angle. It's the same sometimes when we're doing interviews. You know, like prime example, when we interviewed Choi Hark.
Yes,
Choi Hark's team were like, you might get 20 minutes. But you might get 10 minutes. And we're like, oh, great, this is going to be fun. And we got 2.5 hours. Because he went, oh, these guys know my stuff and are asking some fun questions, as opposed to, Mr. Choi, what's the bizarre political backstory to the significance of the character wearing a green shirt in sequence 2 of Once Upon a Time in China? Yeah.
Well, we were talking to him about comic books and stuff like that. And obviously Choi's a very visual guy. He likes comic books, he likes fun, he likes all that stuff. And he started telling us all these like really fun, crazy things he used to do. Like, he told us a really great story that at one point they bought these new cameras. They got 4 at the studios working. They got 4 of these cameras. And he goes, no one damaged these cameras. By the end of the week, he destroyed them all because he's having so much fun. Like, because they're smaller, so he can do more wacky, like spinny things with them, all that. And at the end of it, he's like, I destroyed the ball. But it was really good fun destroying them, though. So he's a really fun, energetic guy. And I don't think you have a career as long as he does without being so enthusiastic and so visual and so fun and having that much energy. So I think Choi gelled with us in terms of that. I'd love to do an audio commentary with him one time.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that'd be a lot of fun.
Like, I did a commentary with director Ronnie Yu from Fearless and Bride with White Hair. We did the commentary for Legacy of Rage, the Brandon Lee movie. And I love that movie. And I thought I knew everything about that movie. And Ronnie's like my uncle. I love Ronnie. And Ronnie proceeded to just educate me and was telling me all this stuff that I was going, wow, what? Whoa. You know, like about why certain scenes were done certain ways. And like, well, the reason this action scene is like that is because, you know, Brandon Lee refused to do what they really wanted. So we changed all this. Like, you know, Brandon at the time hadn't wanted to do a lot of fighting, so it became more of a heroic bloodshed, you know, gangster movie. And it's if we can get people from the movies, the problem is sometimes it's hard to do a commentary with someone unless they're comfortable with it. And like say with Godfrey, Godfrey knows his movies backwards. Like, you know, Godfrey will go, no, I didn't direct that movie. I directed this movie, and no, I didn't do that. And
like Robo Vampire, Godfrey did not direct Robo Vampire.
Like everyone claims that, and Godfrey was like, "No, I didn't direct that movie." But he's, you know, he doesn't take credit for stuff he didn't do. He's very aware of what he did. He's very aware of why he did it. You know, why did you do that? Because it made money. So we did another one. And you know, and he has a very good memory of his stuff. Sometimes it is scary that you interview people and go, they have no memory of this movie. They have no memory of the situation, you know. And it's just, I think, you know, like, we come in and we're very much fans of the genre and all kinds of genres. Like, you know, we love the martial arts movies, we love the action movies, we like the
canon films, horror, science fiction. Yeah.
Like, one of the commentaries I really enjoyed was we did the audio commentary for Split Second,
Yes.
Starring Rutger.
Rutger Hauer. I've gone over this with you so many times. He said I was like, okay, what are you doing?
The lead cast is a Dutchman and an Englishman. You need to have a Dutchman and an Englishman do.
That's how we pitched it. Yeah. Well, the weird thing about audio, the weird thing about audio commentaries is, I gotta say though, sometimes we come up with stuff in audio commentaries like, oh, they're gonna love this. Wait till they hear this fact about this audio commentary. More the swimming pool thing I'm referring to mainly. And like, there's a movie called Hero, in which we did an audio commentary. At one point, I found a fact about swimming pools in there, when swimming pools are built and everything else. And then, well, I won't say exactly what it was. And then and he was like, "Oh, wait till I hear this fact. This is amazing. No one's ever talked about it." We're like, that is the greatest fact about swimming pools.
I'm actually surprised that after I pointed out on the Police Story 3 Super Cup that it's not Michelle Yeoh doing the jump. It's actually Bruce Law and Michelle Yeoh's on a wire for this thing. I was waiting for there to be this big, either Mike has destroyed the myth, Mike has destroyed the legend, or like, oh, why did he do it? Well, seems to have disappeared. Nobody realizes. Yeah.
What's also weird is we did one audio commentary for a movie called The Old Master, which was the most difficult audio commentary we ever did. And we're after that one. That was the only one after that we're like, oh man, I hope people like this. And that became one of the most popular audio commentaries that everybody ever asked us about.
Well, I think part of it's because at one point we start talking about the fact that this movie was obviously made to launder money.
yeah. We're like, all right, let's stop. This at one point, like they're just driving out a car and go, okay, this, ladies and gentlemen, is called filler. And then the disco dancing as well. And it's such a bizarre movie. And
it's a movie starring Jackie Chan's teacher, and he was probably 75 to 80 when he made it. And he's teamed up with Bill Louie, an American Filipino karate legend who at one point does robot kung fu. It was the late 70s.
But people love that column. They always write.
But people really responded, and we were afterwards going, that's going to be a hard one to...
Well, I think the whole friendship hanging out with aspect is what really makes the commentary special for you guys. And it's true, because if you're going to be learning something, you hanging out on a couch with a couple people is the best way to get that feeling, basically.
No, exactly. Like, there even in Hong Kong, there's a Sammo Hung movie called Pantyhose Hero. It's the most politically incorrect movie, which I somehow don't think will get a Blu-ray release by anyone at any point.
It'd be fun to do a column for, though. I'll tell you that.
Unless it has a big warning on it. But like, I arrived in Hong Kong just as they were shooting that movie, and there's a scene where Sammo gets hit by a car, and you see his body fold in ways a body shouldn't fold. And Sammo spent about a week in hospital at the time.
Jeez.
And was doing a lot of interviews about, I'm suffering from my art. And, this is what filmmaking is all about. About 10 years ago, I was at Sammo's house, and it's on TV, and just in the background, and Sammo's brother, whose name is Yi Fei, fat number 2. It's Cantonese, okay? It's Yi Fei goes, oh, big mate, that's me. I'm like, what? And he goes, that's me getting hit by the car. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, how long did you go to the hospital for? He went, I didn't go. Yeah, he was like, I was fine. I looked at Sammo, and Sammo was like, promotion for the movie. Yeah,
Sammo really is very good at being Sammo. I know that it's he's such an entertainer, and he's such a creative dude. I mean, it's like, but he's got the balls the size of coconuts because he just does stuff like that. And he goes, "This is gonna be amazing." Like, he's a bit of a prankster as well. So
he's very much like if you can get Sammo on a good day, you're great. If you get Sammo on a bad day, run away.
We saw him at Hong Kong Film Mart. He's like, "Hey, let's go talk to Sammo." And Sammo was in like Big Brother mode. He's walking through there like he's gonna beat the whole of Film Mart up.
And I was like, "We'll talk to him another day."
You look really angry, man. I don't know who he's gonna go see, but I won't be that guy.
But but that is the thing. So exactly, sometimes that's where you learn stuff. And same from growing up. There's stuff I remember in conversation going, "Holy shit, that made much more sense than someone trying to lecture it to me."
Exactly.
And and the same thing. I'll be honest, I think Arne, the same thing. These are the movies that made us end up moving here. I was a manager in a department store in England. I used to sell lights and fittings, and I was bored shitless. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I've seen some white guys in Hong Kong movies. I could go there. And maybe I'll stay a week or two. I could probably be there for a while. Maybe I can get to be in a movie. And 32 years later, I'm still here. And, you know, Arne was like, maybe my family built a tunnel across the Hong Kong harbor.
Now we were going to Hong Kong every now and again because I was spending most of my summers in Thailand because a lot of my relatives on my mom's side are born in. They're Caucasian, but they were born in Thailand. They all speak Thai and they read it and had Thai passports at the time and stuff like that. So we spent every summer in Thailand. So I just through osmosis of like what was on the television, even though some of it was in Thai, sometimes it was in English. I was watching like Hong Kong movies. I don't know what the first Hong Kong movies that I watched because I was so young, but I think the movie that made me want to move to Hong Kong was actually Beast Cops when I saw that. Because that really that's
what began Arne's obsession with Michael Wong. Yeah.
No, don't meet all your heroes. Let me just put it that way. That's all I'm saying about that. But it's Jesus. But but Beast Cops really was like a film. Like, okay, yeah, this because I felt that was really about like it showed Hong Kong off in a very unique way, and I liked it a lot.
Right.
It just looked so freaking cool, and that's when and that's again I talked a bit about earlier. There's like the sub-belly of Hong Kong cinema. You've got all the big stuff on top, like the Jackie Chans and the Sammo Hungs and everything else, and then you've got this like underlying that's what it gets really good when you get under that. I mean, the stuff's good, but if you're willing to deep, Beast Cops is a good transition into like the underlying stuff because that's really about living in Hong Kong in that period. I mean, the stories are kind of fantastical, but a lot of the environments, you can really soak them up in that. And a lot of those locations still exist today. So it's I love that movie, man. I hope we get to do an audio commentary for that. That's on my list of movies I really want to do an audio commentary for. So nice. Yeah, along with Panteo Zero. So yeah.
Maybe someday.
Double
we can never get past it.
Double Impact, a big one for us, man. Someone out there, give us Double Impact. Give us Double Impact now.
A couple of years ago, it was a very bizarre weekend. I was hanging out with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we were having an argument. And I was accusing him of being being an idiot.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, Mike, when am I not an idiot? And I was like, when you teach martial arts, when you're teaching karate, you behave yourself. And he was like, okay, Mike, call 10 of your friends. I will teach them karate tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's about 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday, and I'm messaging Arne going, hey, tomorrow I need you and Joe to shoot this. I need like about 7 or 8 people to come and learn martial arts from Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
So Arne calls up a bunch of people. I call up a couple of people. Next day we all meet, and I'm like, okay, guys, you wait here. I'm going to go at the ground floor of Jean-Claude's building. I'm going to go and get Jean-Claude. I go out there, and it takes an hour to get Jean-Claude to come down.
Yeah, people downstairs.
He's like, why are these people here? What do they want? I'm like, you told me to call them. No, I didn't. I'm like, yes, you did. Mike, I don't have a karate gi. Aha, but I do. Oh, okay.
So basically, downstairs, he's messaging me, and I got all these people staying, like 10 people, and they're like, is this a prank? Are you playing a prank? And this guy, no. Like, dude, I swear to God, if Jean-Claude doesn't come down, I got a lot of questions to answer. So I just grab people on a Sunday, drag them out to the middle of, like, this area and going, like, oh, you want to hang out with Jean-Claude Van Damme and shoot a karate, like, instructional video? They're like, that sounds like a prank. This is because I like playing pranks. And they're like, and I'm saying, no, he's real. Yeah.
After an hour, I bring Jean-Claude down, and he's very amiable and very friendly. And we walk to the gym in his building, and it's 1 floor up.
Yeah.
So Arne and Joe and everyone have all the equipment. So Jean-Claude's like, I take the lift because I'm Van Damme.
It's like this. It's this glass elevator. We just all watch him going up. Always standing there with the equipment. We're like, this is absurd. I literally remember watching him going up. Go, Jesus Christ, Jean-Claude Van Damme taking the glass elevator up, and we got all this gear.
We're setting up, and I've said, and Jean-Claude on the way down has been like, Mike, are these guys good people? Are they all good? And I'm like, yeah. I said, oh, one of them's a guy called Joe. He's wearing glasses. I went, if you kind of want to fuck with him a bit, you can. Okay. So we're setting up, and Jean-Claude's being like, hello, nice to meet you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm getting ready to shoot. Are we ready to shoot? And Arne's like, yep, I'm good. And Joe is like, yeah, I'm just trying to fix this. And Joe's
He's fixing the horseshoe on his camera. Yeah,
Fix it? You bring something that is broken to film Van Damme? And Joe's like, what? And then Jean-Claude starts throwing kicks at him.
Like next to his head, like that close to his head. And Joe starts sweating, and later on he's like, you know how weird it is? I mean, my hair when he's throwing kicks next to my head, I can't get this horseshoe thing to fit on this camera. And Joe goes like, choo, chua, like he's doing that kind of thing, like he does in the movies.
And then we had a very good like 1 hour training session with Jean-Claude where it was great fun.
Yeah,
and then
it was good.
We sit down to have a coffee and a chat, and he proceeds to like chat with us.
Yeah.
And Arne explains that, you know, Arne tells him the story of how, you know, like, you don't know how I first came aware of you, Mr. Venema. Continue.
Yeah, well, basically what happened was I was living in Belgium at the time, and we're ethnically Dutch. And at one point, we're walking by the supermarket called Delhaize, and my dad goes, "Oh, you see that guy on the wall? Because they sell these videotapes. This is back, like, you know, when they still sold videotapes. And there's all these movies, and there's like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and then there's Van Damme. And he goes, you see this man, Van Damme? He pulls out the videotape and goes, he's one of us, because Benelux, you know, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. He's one of us. You should watch this." And that movie was Double Impact. And Double Impact made me aware of editing and everything else. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And it's also one of the movies that first made me go, oh, Hong Kong's cool. And then we end up visiting Hong Kong more after that.
Right.
And I watched this movie and I go, oh my God, this is really cool. And I told Jean-Claude about this. I go, oh, Jean-Claude, like, you know, my dad showed me the video. He said you were one of us. And Jean-Claude's like, yes, I am one of us. Yes. He's like sitting there, like absorbing this and loving it. And then I watched the movie Jean-Claude, and I really want to get into filmmaking. And like years later, I'm in Hong Kong. I kind of saw Hong Kong through there, and I'm in front of you, and it's full circle. And I just shot with you, and he goes, yes, it is magical. We all must be aware of how things come around and stuff like that. He gives his whole speech. 1 week later, however,
he's asking me, Mike, where is your friend, the little guy, the one who owns the supermarket in Village?
In Belgium. I was like, that's totally not the fucking story, Jean-Claude. But okay.
He's like, no, remember, he owned the video shop. I used to go there. It's like, okay. Yeah. So.
And then later on, he's like, oh, he means Arne. Okay, right. So
Wow.
that was how I met. I met him once very briefly outside a club, and I was like, oh wow, oh hello, but I don't think he remembers me from that. But that's how I properly met Jean-Claude. And yeah, that was
awesome.
that was.
And trust me, I have sat down with him to try and record audio commentaries.
Yeah, it's been
like,
attempted.
Jean-Claude, please, let's do it. Like originally for Double Impact, I got him interested in the idea of, let me shoot interviews with you as Jean-Claude Van Damme and as Chad and Alex.
Oh, that was so good.
And he was like, oh, I like that idea. I was like, let's do that. And it's just the same thing. It's getting him on his schedule and getting him
right.
when he's in the mood, because like if you can get him, he's got so much to talk about, and just if you can get him on the right days, you can get magic out of him. It's just sometimes it's that thing where he'll be like, Mike, let's do an interview. I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, dude. Like,
But yeah, he's an interesting guy though, because like you can sit down with him and ask him, yo, what was it like being around in the 80s and the 90s when, like, you know,
right.
all the big action heroes were, because to me it's almost like a high school class. And I said that to him, it was like a high school class, like you guys. He goes, yeah, it kind of was like that, because all this weird like dynamic with each other. And I think that now they're a lot better with each other and stuff like that, obviously. But
well, I mean,
yeah,
I think that's the thing. Same as Jackie and Jet Li, like back in the 90s, Jackie and Jet Li would constantly snipe at each other, of course, with Jet Li taking it further with High Risk, you know, the entire, and then claiming, I didn't know that movie was making fun of Jackie Chan. Honestly, yeah.
Jet Li's a smart guy. Yeah.
With the interesting dynamics, I got to ask, how do you guys feel about the martial arts and kung fu fandom nowadays compared to, say, 15 years ago? Because some people would say like the early 2000s might be like the golden era of fandom for this thing.
It depends, because like when I first started getting into Hong Kong movies, I had to deal with some of the fans who were like, oh, you can't watch that movie, you're not ready for it yet, you're not, you're like, and I'd be like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, you need to work your way up. And
gatekeeping sucks.
yeah, and it says we said like I completely understand. Like there was that time where we'd all go to see movies. I remember going to see A Better Tomorrow, and the poster looked like it was a bunch of school teachers. So my friends were like, "Oh, we'll come later for the second show." And when my friends arrived, I was like, "You do not know what you've just missed. This is like this incredible action movie." But I would never be like, "Oh no, sorry, Ryan. Before you watch A Better Tomorrow, here's your homework. I think you need to watch Headhunters with Giant Fat. This show. You need to watch T-Lung and Avenging Eagle, and possibly such and such." But I think that's the problem, that it's like there is a section of it where some people as well don't seem to understand that some of these movies didn't travel. Some of these movies only played in certain markets. Yeah. And the good and bad thing of social media is, like, some people who appeared in those movies have reinvented themselves very heavily on social media and had much bigger careers than they really did. And it's like it's funny because sometimes you'll get those kind of like prime example. We had finished up on the movie Abduction with Scott Adkins, and I was bringing Scott back to Hong Kong so he could fly out. So, like you do when you've just finished a movie, we're on the slow boat back to Hong Kong, and Scott's like, "Okay, Mike, what movies have you got on your computer? What can we watch?" And I'm like, "Well, I've got the uncut version of King of the Kickboxers." And he's like, "Okay, I want to watch that." So we start watching it on the ferry, and Scott starts live streaming, like, this is what it's all about. Like, I just finished making a movie with Mike. Now we're live streaming, watching King of the Kickboxers. Lauren Avenden called me at that point. And I handed the phone to Scott, and Scott became an 8-year-old boy. And Scott was like, "I met you when I was a kid, and like it was at an event in London, and I asked you if one day if I trained hard, could I be a movie star like you?" And he goes, "And Lauren, you looked at me and smiled and went, 'Sure you can, kid.'" And that meant so much to me.
That's amazing. Lauren's like, "Who are you?"
And then Scott, Lauren, I get the phone back from Scott, and Lauren's like, "Is he taking the piss?" I'm like, "No." I was like, Scott is one of us, and that's the thing. Like, there's certain people like Scott. Scott knows his movies backwards. He knows everyone else's movies backwards. Scott is very much. He's not an action star slumming it. Like, there's some people who are like, "Well, I'll do these action movies and then I'll get to just do my dramatic roles, and action is beneath me." Scott loves the action. Right. Scott knows it's hard. Scott puts in the training. He knows all the things he has to put up with, but he's doing it because he loves it, because this is the stuff he loves. And that's why you can see when you watch like Accent Man 2, for instance, he's throwing it all down. And I think that's what sometimes people forget. And the same way I think sometimes fans sometimes forget that nobody sets out to make a bad movie. Making a movie, sometimes you can do so much and then something happens, either in post-production or money vanishes or someone passes away or anything. Like, you look at The Crow, for instance. If The Crow had been done by Canon, they'd have just been like, "Oh, it's okay, just shoot his legs," and just like it would have been the worst way to finish that movie. Whereas Miramax were able to go, "Okay, let's spend some time and money and do it in a way that honors Brandon, complete the movie." I think sometimes people forget that budgets have changed, and that also flicks on piracy when you get all the people who are like, "Well, I'm going to download it and then maybe I'll buy it when it's cheaper." I'm like, guys, you can't do that. It's
right.
And there's still this thing where people think they're sticking it to the man, and you're like, "No, you're not sticking it to the man.
You're sticking it to the hard working boutique label. You're sticking it to, you clown."
That is the problem. Like, to now get like a 30-day shooting schedule for something like a Scott Adkins movie or something. You've had to pull in some heavy shit to get to that schedule. And it's like whereas in Hong Kong, you can do a movie in 15 days, and you like, and you can turn it around and you can do ridiculous hours. You can't always do that in the West, and sometimes you're very limited by it. Like the longest I ever spent on set is tied for 2 movies. Once Upon a Time in China Part 2, I think I was on set for 60 something hours because we were doing the reshoots, and we finished the reshoots on the Monday, and the movie premiered the following Saturday. You know, and then another movie called Invincible, starring Billy Blanks and Jerry Trimble. It's a French Foreign Legion movie shot in Hong Kong. Completely mad movie. The director, the movie stopped production for 6 months because the director beat up the main actor.
As you do.
And then when they finally all came back together, they brought everyone back for the ending, and they brought back Billy Blanks, Jerry Trimble, and Stefanos Miklos. And we had 72 hours.
Oh, geez.
And because it was literally like, okay, as soon as these guys wrap, they're gone. And people don't get how hard you're working. And
right.
It's people forget on something like on a big Hollywood movie, they'll forget. Yes, Fast and Furious had 3.5 months of prep and this much time for shooting, and it still looks like a video game. These guys went out and did it for real. And I think sometimes people forget that times have changed, budgets have changed, safety issues have changed,
laws have changed. I was going to say that. A lot of laws have changed as well.
There's a Hong Kong movie called Fatal Termination, where at one point a friend of ours, Mike Abbott, is the wild-eyed foreigner kidnapping a little girl, and he's holding a little girl. Well, okay, it's a fake arm on a brace, on a holding arm, out the window of a speeding car that's driving through real traffic, and it's not a controlled road, and she's swinging through it. The stunt coordinator of that is a guy called Ridley Choi Boa, incredible stuntman and coordinator. And he was always like, Mike, that was safe. That was perfectly safe. And then when he had a kid, I was like, so would it be safe if we did it with your son? No, that would not be allowed. And I was like, oh, but a week ago it was safe because it's not my son. And you go, action movies, you take some serious knocks. Like I was laughing about Arne, breaking his arm skateboarding. I was doing a movie in Vietnam and I completely dislocated my shoulder, and then had to spend half the movie with a sling designed into my jacket. So for half of the movie, I'm constantly like, aha, hey, how you doing? I've constantly got a glass of wine or a gun or a bunch of flowers because I'm like, I can't move half my body.
A bunch of flowers.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something interesting. We just shot a location video for, I can't say what it was for a movie that was going to be on one of the Blu-rays, and I shot the first half of that along with Mike, before we went to Thailand, and I had to finish off my half because I got food poisoning after I got back here. I just shot that the other day. I have a broken arm in that thing. So when you see me in the thing, I'm like holding my hands like in front of my thing. My left arm in that is broken. Like while I'm shooting that. So I wonder if people will notice. Like, so that's a little bit of trivia you can have. So when that comes out, I'll let you guys know which one it is. Yeah, but I'm shooting that with a broken arm.
Sometimes, like we've had that as well, like we've laughed about is sometimes in Hong Kong a location can vanish overnight. Like,
well, yeah. Yeah, we had that when we shot the Police Story location video. Like the last day that building was going to be knocked down, which is the building that from that, like Jackie Chan like walks out there with Michelle Yeoh and stuff like that. We walk up to there and I go, oh my God, this is the building they were in, because we found the location. And then they go, oh, we're about to knock the whole thing down. And as we're about to tear down the sign, can you leave the sign up there for like 10 more minutes while we stand in front of them? They go, this is the old building. And they're like, why? It's for this movie. They go, oh, really? We showed them the scene. They go, holy hell, yeah, that's where that's from. So we shot that. And then literally after we turned off the camera, they knocked that entire front of that building
Jeez.
down. So that's the last footage we ever got of it. Yeah. So
you brought up piracy, Mike. I'm curious, and I don't know if I'm just generalizing a little too much, but it seems like the whole Asian market gets hit by piracy much more in a detrimental way than other markets. Do you know why?
Well, I know why.
Yeah. The problem is, I'll let Arne say first. Sorry.
So on a legal ground, copyright laws are a lot less hard to enforce down here. That's just a fact. The copyright laws in Hong Kong are a lot looser than, say, United States of America. Same thing goes for Thailand. Japan's a bit better, and definitely in China, they're basically more or less non-existent. So that's the first reason. The second reason was through the invention of things like VCD back in the day. It became very easy to pirate things. This is before the digital age, because a lot of stuff is done electronically now. It was cheap and fast to pirate things, and film was seen as more disposable things that got hit up a lot. That being said, though, I think nowadays piracy is just as much prevalent all over the world because of the wonders of the internet. Double-edged sword type argument. I love the internet, by the way. I'm all for it. But it's just, I think that's yeah. I mean, we've actually seen stuff we've worked on pirated in Hong Kong, but that's we've done funny things like walked up to them and they've offered us stuff we worked on and go, but that's our name on there, and showing us our ID cards and things like that. So we have done that. But yeah.
Well, my favorite was we were in one place and they had a movie I produced.
Yeah.
And I'm on the back cover. There's a picture of me.
And I'm like, I called him dress up like this.
And he was okay, 2 for 1. Yeah. Like, and because he was like, oh shit, and it's kind of a thing where you go, I think the problem is, part of it, as stupid sounds, is I think with the internet, because at the beginning everything was free, everyone is, like, if at the very beginning you'd been told to download something will cost 50 cents, you'd have gone, oh, okay. But because at the beginning everything was free, everyone's like, well, it was free before. Right. And
it's hard to put it
I don't think people realize that it's like when you're explaining to people, no, the reason now that all these bands are touring again is because that's the only way they can make money. And it's the merchandise and things, because now, the streaming and the Spotify and everything, you're getting 10 cents for every million streams or whatever.
I can confirm that you get very little from Spotify. I don't understand. Just a quick side note: how the hell was Napster illegal back in the day? Artists make no money. You can't give this stuff away for free. But Spotify comes. I got a check for like 10 cents the other day. I'm like, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is legal. This is fine." I'm like, who got away with this? Like, is it Napster in disguise? Because this is absurd.
Yep.
Like,
it's the revenge of Napster. Yeah,
it is.
But I think the problem is people don't like in. I don't know if you had them in America, but like in England, they did all these bizarre commercials trying to condone that piracy somehow.
You wouldn't
download a car.
Piracy is somehow connected to international terrorism, as if Bin Laden was sitting there selling, like going, send out the shipment of pirate Star Wars movies. And you're like, I don't think that's going to work. And
actually,
I always laugh at the campaign that they did for those, because now we have 3D printers and we're actually downloading parts for things and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the thing is, like I remember the good old days where even if you wanted to pirate something, it took some effort. I've got to get one VHS and another VHS, and I've got to, borrow the cables and try and do this and not upset my parents and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now the problem is, touch of a button, or you get the idiots where sometimes what is crazy when we're doing post-production or something is sometimes people send us files and we're like, you've sent us a 50 gigabyte master of this project, and they're like, and we're like, could you just send us like a 700 megabyte version to work from so that we don't worry about it? Because like sometimes what I've had companies where they've sent me something for reference, and 2 or 3 months later I'm like, oh my god, it's still on the server. Right. It's still there and it's not a private download. Anyone could download it. I think the piracy, when I first, in Malaysia, for instance, you used to come out of the cinema and there would be guys selling pirate VHS of the movies outside the cinema.
In Thailand as well. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I once, that's totally true. But I think something else to underline it is the reason not to buy pirate is because we're such huge proponents of physical media as well. To have physically something that's really nice and cool, especially the movie that you love, especially with the booklets like some of the labels are doing that we work with. Those things are beautiful. I mean, they see them as pieces of art and also see it as a way of supporting the cinema you're once part of. I mean,
no, and also like the funny thing is like, yeah, I use Netflix and I use Amazon and I use Disney Plus and I use all of these, but I still love my physical media. So pardon me as well when people go, "Oh my god, they've taken this out of my collection," or they've changed the print. I go, that's kind of one of the reasons
that's why you buy physical media, people. That's why you go physical media.
We talked about people not knowing how much work goes into it. This is one of those things that proves that.
I somehow don't think that Sony is going to send someone to my house and go, Mr. Leeder, we believe you have an uncut version of this movie, and we think you should give it to us now. Yeah, because I'd be like, you ain't taking my laser discs. It'll be the Siege of Waco again. It's like, you go,
Waco,
I somehow don't, because if that's what happened, people would be in uproar. Can you imagine if suddenly people turned up and were like, I'm sorry, but you have the Shout Factory Blu-ray, and we think that's the wrong print that came out. You need to hand it over.
Physical media gives you... Physical media gives you control, right? Digital media can also... 100%. I mean, I think with the PlayStation 4 where they deleted the Silent Hill PT demo that everybody was playing after Hideo Kojima fell out with Konami. Like, that was a big example of that. Like, and now those PlayStations with that still on the hard drive sell for tons of money because it's physical media. You can still access it and everything else. So, I'm super happy.
Bono knows he got it wrong. Bono apologized for...
Bono, like, for the iTunes thing. I remember seeing that.
Because can you imagine that if suddenly you turned on and you're like, oh, there's a complete Wong Jin collection in my hard drive immediately.
That's a lot of stuff in your hard drive, man. That's a couple terabytes.
You're like, I now need to buy a new hard drive.
What do you guys? What do you feel about the kung fu and martial arts cinema industry today? Because it's changed so much. Wow. Like, do you think the old school style is officially dead? Because it certainly feels like it.
So
I know.
So my belief is it's a kind of are we talking about Hong Kong or are we talking about kung fu cinema globally?
I mean, you can talk on both. I mean, obviously they have different realms.
Okay, so in the first Hong Kong, unfortunately, Hong Kong cinema is going through what can be described as a decline, right? I mean, we used to make what 400 movies a year here at one point. That's mental, by the way. And then also, like, right now, I think we do closer to how would you say many movies were made this year, Mike? Or last year? Let's say last year.
In Hong Kong, I'd say about 30 to 50. Because
that's a pretty steep decline. I think it's closer to 30 myself, but it's but in terms of kung fu stuff, well, you got to understand that when Jackie and Sammo were coming up, the things they were doing to Jackie and Sammo qualifies child abuse. I mean, Sammo's about to make a movie about it. I don't know how far along that is. That it's basically like Painted Faces, but more realistic.
Yeah,
and the thing about that is that the way they used to train people and everything else coming from the Chinese opera backgrounds and stuff like that, that's not possible anymore. A lot of people also don't have time to take kung fu or whatever else it is, or learn all the gymnastics and acrobatics with that. So Hong Kong's going to go into decline in terms of the amount of people that can perform these stunts. Beyond that, except for maybe Hit Hut, there's no real like schools teaching martial art action in Hong Kong anymore. And a lot of people just don't have the time. They'd rather go off and do karaoke or go to the movies, ironically, or play video games and stuff like that. So there's a lot of distractions toward that happening. And also, I think, obviously COVID did a massive number on all that as well. But is it in decline? I think the only way it's really going to come back is if digital streaming services somehow invest money into Hong Kong to make that happen again, which I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't know what Mike thinks about that. I hope that would happen. But in terms of ripple effect, I think Hong Kong is quite significant, because if you look at the Tony Jaws, if you look at the guys, all the guys who basically worked on The Raid, Mike knows them a lot better than I do, but I suspect they were all influenced by Hong Kong cinema. So I think the ripple effect that came out of it, like Hong Kong was a stone in the pond in terms of what came out of that, that's quite interesting. And I think I have high hopes for countries like Thailand and Indonesia eventually to kind of pick up a lot of the mantle. That's kind of where I stand. Modern kung fu cinema from Hong Kong, we're not going to see another era like Shaw's anymore. I think Hong Kong's heading toward a more The crime genre has been very successful in Hong Kong in the last few years. We've seen that, but recently we saw Louis Koo put out a cool mech-based cyberpunk Hong Kong take on all that kind of thing because he loves Iron Man. So yeah, I don't know. Mike, what do you think?
He is Iron Man, okay?
Yes, he is Iron Man. Yeah.
Trust me, I've been to his office and he's dressed as Iron Man at times.
Yes,
yeah.
He loves Iron Man.
No, I think part of it is, for the longest time, Hong Kong was like a perfect market.
Right? Yes, yeah.
When I first arrived in Hong Kong, you could pre-sell movies so easily depending on cast and everything. So if you watch Wong Kar-wai's Ashes of Time, for the longest time I was always like, there's one shot in it and it looks like Joey Wong Jo-yin from Chinese Ghost Story, but I'm like, but she's not in the movie. A couple of years ago I was working on Europe Raiders that was produced by Wong Kar-wai, and we're having dinner and we're chatting, and he's like, oh yeah, she's in that one shot. I'm like, what? And he's like, oh, because at the time her market for Korea was so strong, if she was in your movie, even for one shot, it was a contractual obligation, you could sell for $1 million to Korea. So the Philippine buyers would come in and go, can you give me the first reel of your movie, the third reel, and the last reel? And they would time the action. There's enough action, we'll buy it. So for the longest time, Hong Kong was like this perfect market. And in the mid-90s, I began to see even Hong Kong directors were starting to take it for granted. I remember meeting one director and he was like, oh, my next movie is going to be a huge success. I went, why? And he goes, oh, because I have these two actors. I went, oh, what's it about? He goes, oh, I don't know. But I've got these two actors and I was like, and the market's changed. Like suddenly Thailand woke up and began.
Korea woke up.
Korea woke up big time.
The
Korean government supports the film industry. Like every cinema in Korea, every screen needs to show Korean movies for at least 1/3 of the year. So part of the problem was Hong Kong lost its place and the China market came, and the problem is the China market is such a good market. Everyone changed their focus to China because I can make the money in China. And the problem is sometimes the movies you make for China don't translate for the rest of the world.
Right.
So you got into that. And with the Kung Fu genre, it's a trend. Next year, there's going to be Donnie Yen's Sakura, which is like a Donnie reinventing the swordplay wuxia genre. There's Kowloon Walled City, which is a comic book adaptation that Kenji did the action for, which is completely wild. It's kind of like imagine District 13 meets Dragon Tiger Gate. It's like it's completely mad. You've got Nicholas Jare. He's just done this full-on action movie called Customs Frontline, which is like very much a police story style, a lot of reference to old Hong Kong style, a lot of stunts and everything. It's starting to come back. I think it just goes in a trend. Part of the problem as well is suddenly you had everyone doing Kung Fu. I just rewatched Charlie's Angels. And you sit there and go, that was when you knew why work had done its dirty. When suddenly Drew Barrymore, Lucy, everyone, for no reason, are just flying over walls and everything. And you're going,
well, it's a good example of Keanu Reeves kind of has that curse where, for example, he made The Matrix and everybody imitated that. And then he makes John Wick. And now everybody's doing like their John Wick-like type thing.
Keanu is the dude. Keanu is the nicest dude in the business.
The man's a trendsetter, man. I got to give him the credit. He picks his movies well.
He's just awesome. He's just... My first introduction to him, I ended up wrestling with him in a casting because we were discussing styles of Kung Fu. And we ended up on the floor demonstrating, well, this is such and such. No. Keanu's awesome. And Matthew Perry, I used to like you until you slagged off Keanu Reeves. Yeah. And then proceeded to slag off everyone and claim you slept with everyone. And I guess he wants to sell some books. Yeah. But
Chandler, no.
Exactly. It's like, so you really were Chandler for the whole time. Yeah. But I think that's because he went, I can't remember several years of my life. So they went, oh, we'll just get a writer to come in and
Of course.
fill it up for you. Yeah. But like, I think the action genre will come out, but also part of the problem was before Hong Kong was the special effect. We didn't have the special effects.
Yeah.
Right.
We didn't have the green screens. We didn't have things. So it was, okay, Arne, you're really going to jump out of a window and land on a passing bus, bounce off of it, get hit by a passing car, and then land in the backseat of a Corvette as it drives past. And
You
we're
just
doing
carry
it
on.
once. Yeah,
exactly.
And so I think the market changed and said, like, for a while when like Johnny Toe was like, okay, I'm going to take the gangster genre and I'm still going to reinvent and play with that. So I think it goes through phases. It's like in the 90s when suddenly the category 3 genre went crazy, and suddenly we had like about a 3 to 4 year period of just insanity. Where
what an awesome period that was! My favorite period. Bring it.
I mean, I did a movie that began life as a Hong Kong take on Zatoichi called Blind Power, with Lam Ching Ying as a blind swordsman. Halfway through the filming, I arrive on set and Lam Ching Ying is driving a car, and I'm like, but he's blind. Oh, we've dropped but we've shot stuff where he's like touching people's faces, and it doesn't matter. We finished the movie as Sad Story of Saigon. The movie comes out, opens in Taiwan, makes no money. What's popular at the moment? Category 3 movies. Okay, let's add some Category 3 scenes at the most inopportune moments. So imagine Ryan, Anna, and me, we're sitting in the house. Suddenly someone runs in. The police are outside. We're surrounded. Anna, you're going to go and have sex with this girl? Well, we all know one phallically. And there's a sex scene intercut with shots of people putting bullets in shotguns and and it's some things where I just go, I remember being like, oh God, and I'm on the poster. My mum's going to be proud of me.
And that movie was called Rape in Public Sea.
Rape in Public Sea.
Makes no sense, that title. I
and
love
you just
it.
go, okay, but you go, the market went bizarre. I mean, so I have a feeling in China, the Kung Fu genre will come back because there's some incredible talent. And a lot of the Chinese streaming services like iQIYI and Tencent are pumping out a lot of Kung Fu movies, and they're revisiting things like Vincent Zhao just did a Fearless TV series, which if not for COVID, I would have returned as referee Randall, but this time I would have got to fight.
Well, there you go.
So I think there's gonna be a change, but I think the action genre is coming back, and like the last year, I said, like we've had this incredible science fiction movie by Louis Koo do really well.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we've had this really small, like romantic comedy of errors that's also done really well in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong audiences have begun to rediscover Hong Kong film.
Nice.
Like for the longest time, Hong Kong film had kind of fallen out of favor, even in Hong Kong. Like people are like, I want to go and see the American movies. I want to go and watch Vin Diesel. I want to go and see the Avengers. So I think it took a kicking, but it's coming back. But sadly, it will never be that time when it was 400 movies a year in Hong Kong, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, and again, the talent base, like that's a bit of an issue. So I wish, I mean, there's also Hong Kong doesn't do government subsidies for creative things like films. I mean, they have them, but they're very hard to access.
They've just announced a new government subsidy, which is fantastic, because if your director, producer, or scriptwriter has previously won the Hong Kong Film Award,
in that case,
then we'll consider your application. I was like, oh, that's really helping young filmmakers. Yeah, like
that's the thing. Like, whereas I just got back from Thailand, and they're like, there's like so many incentives for people to do creative stuff for whatever genre. In Japan, they have $1 billion. Like, I think it's literally called like the Cool Culture Fund or something.
Cool Japan. Yeah, I mean that's Cool Japan, and that's why you've got a lot of these like YouTubers in Japan, like the Trash Taste guys, or abroad in Japan, who get all this
anime
support.
Industries as well. Yeah. It's incredible.
Hong Kong, the problem has always been like I did a Bollywood movie called Krish Part 2, and they originally wanted to film it in Hong Kong And the Hong Kong government was like, if you film it in Hong Kong, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Whereas Singapore went, Indian tourism. And we got to fly helicopters down Orchard Road. So basically, imagine flying helicopters through Times Square and everything, and do all this cool stuff. So Malaysia offers a rebate. Thailand offers a rebate. Indonesia has a rebate.
Philippines
now everybody's going to Malta because 50% rebate.
It's
cool. Oh, jeez.
I think Fiji has some crazy rebate as well right now, as someone's telling me. I'm like,
we should ask Albert Pine about some of those rebates.
Yeah. He might know. Oh, you want to remake any of your movies?
He can tell,
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you go, so the problem is people forget that it's show business, the film industry.
Right.
So sometimes you do go, it's cheaper for me to build this in Malaysia than to actually go to New York and film it. Like Hongdian, there's a studio in China called Hongdian. It's the huge film studio where they shot Hero and Crouching Tiger. We shot The Mummy 3 there. And basically, if you went to them and said, hey, I want to make a movie and I want to set it in New York and I want to build Times Square, him and his team will look at it and then they'll have a chat like, if we have Times Square, can we rent that to other people? Can we? Okay, you know what? We'll pay half and we'll keep the set after you leave and we'll rent it out for other movies. So like Hongdian has a full-size Forbidden City from Beijing. If you film on the mountainside, there are power supplies built into the rocks. Like, like you go there and it's awesome because the whole state is basically a film studio.
Wow.
And you're suddenly going, well, I can control it. And he built like old Shanghai. He now built Shanghai Harbor in the middle of nowhere with the Bund and everything, because he was like, well, this way we can control it, we can do it. And it is frustrating where film has done so much for Hong Kong. So many people came to Hong Kong because of film, and there hasn't been that support from the government, I think, in terms of either promoting and preserving Hong Kong film or helping Hong Kong film.
The trends that we were talking about, Cat 3 is a main trend on home video right now. What are some of the bigger titles that you think might, obviously things you can't say, but what are some that you think might take us all by storm if they get released soon?
Well, Dr. Lamb, I know it's come out in the States. I would love for that to come out and see a mainland Europe release. I would love to see The Underground Banker. That is if someone releases that, contact myself and Mike immediately, because that film is so crazy. If you were to release that like today in America, it's basically
imagine you're making a movie. Imagine you're making, say, Falling Down. And then you decide, but I think Michael Douglas should team up with Freddy Krueger at one point.
No, should team up with should team up with Ted Bundy, and you actually write Ted Bundy into the movie, and the guy shows up like, hi, I'm Ted Bundy, I'm your next door neighbor, and we're going to take on the bad guys together. And Ted Bundy becomes like a really good person and like a protagonist and everything else in the movie. They actually took a real Hong Kong serial killer who was Dr. Lamb, based on a real person. They wrote him into another film with Anthony Wong, which came out the same year, I think, as The Untold Story. And basically, Anthony Wong's kind of reprising his character in that, but not really saying it. And then, like, Dr. Lamb comes and they team up to take on the Triads. And it's just, and it's such a crazy movie. I would love to see Underground Banker.
I'd love to see that out there. I'd love to see a movie called Runaway Blues come out.
Yes,
Andy Lau, Wong Git, and it's basically about a mainland Chinese and a Taiwanese triad who come to Hong Kong, fall foul of the Hong Kong triads because of language difficulties at one point. And then they kind of bond over the fact that they can speak Mandarin. And there's a scene, it's an incredibly brutal movie. There's a scene in it where Andy Lau's character and another character, Calvin Wong, are in a car and they're crushed by a speeding truck. And I remember asking Calvin Wong, God bless him, how did they do that scene? He was like, we were in a car and we were crushed by a speeding truck. That's how they did the scene. He was like, it was not fun. But it's a really cool gangster movie, and it kind of like devolves the whole glamorous life of a gangster.
Right.
There's a movie called Secret Signs.
That will never. Do you think that?
Okay. Secret Signs begins with a 20-minute documentary about how cool it is to be a gangster.
Be a triad, yeah.
Interviewing real triads going, oh, yeah, I was in Holland, and this guy cut my finger off, but I cut his head off.
They're in Amsterdam doing that interview as well. It's so fucking crazy, that movie.
There's
like
that, there's... God, there's so many, because the problem is
how about Escape from Brothel? Imagine that coming out. That is the most like ridiculous.
Escape from Brothel would be
that,
I don't know. I think
there's no way that would ever come out. Like Escape from Brothel.
But that's the problem. There's something. I mean, like I'd love to. There's a movie called Can't Stop My Crazy Love for You, with Simon Yam, Michael Wong, and Jung Hong, and it's kind of like Simon Yam's a peeping Tom who then becomes an insane serial killer, but he's kind of the hero.
Yeah, there's weird like
and
things
then
like that going on.
Yeah, there's like there's so many. There's like it's. That's the problem. There's so much Category 3 goodness out there, because you go, which level of Category 3 goodness do you want? Do you want the sexy? Do you want the gory? Do you want?
Yeah, we haven't really touched the sexy much yet.
Yeah.
There's I mean,
that's what
she said. Chinese torture chamber story. What about that with the flying? Okay, so people have sex through the air and flying.
Chinese torture chamber story, of which the best would be if we could get Bosco Wong, who directed it.
Yeah,
because basically Bosco used to be one of Wong Jing's assistant directors, and he was trying to get out of his contract. So Wong Jing said, "Hey, I want you to make this movie, Chinese torture chamber story," which basically is about a woman on trial because her husband died. And the reason he died is his dick is so big that when he, shall we say, climaxes, he dies of blood loss. Yeah. Which is,
that's a weird condition to have.
Which we really is. Which we see in silhouette, set to a Chinese erwu playing Unchained Melody. And at one point,
as you do,
the infamous Julie Reaver is flying through the air having sex with a guy, Elvis Choi.
Elvis Choi's amazing,
while they're flying through the air having sex. And I introduced Arne to the stunt coordinator, and he was like, "That girl was crazy," because Elvis has like a jock strap on, and basically that's it with the wires on it. She had nothing. Ooh. She's just meant to be holding onto him, and she's hanging off of him and flying.
And they're not
like 25, 35.
Yeah, they're up in the air. Yeah.
Jeez.
It's utterly mad. That I'd love to see.
Mike, which was the poster that they banned? Like that they were, oh hell no, when that came out. It's such a crazy poster.
First they did Naked Killer. Then they did a semi-sequel called Raped by an Angel.
Yes.
The original title and poster for were Legal Rape.
Yeah.
And the poster was Simon Yam dressed as a judge with Chingami Yao seducing him while the main actress sat there naked, crying, holding the book of law, with the title Legal Rape. And the English and Chinese censors at the time went, "Hang on a minute, guys."
Yeah, no. Yeah. Even we would be like, guys, come on, man. It's like, you gotta...
and it's a very bizarre... It's kind of like... It's almost like... There was a very cool American TV series called Midnight Caller in the late 80s, which had an episode where they address the AIDS issue, and they do it in such a bad 1980s, like basically a man with AIDS is sleeping with all these women and giving them AIDS, and the end of the movie is he's in a disco and a biohazard team turn up, and basically Raped by an Angel 2 kind of touched on that thing of like someone is getting away with this and committing the crime. Because the problem as well with some of those movies is like Hong Kong did not handle AIDS very well at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, some of their audio commentaries
like-
are real. Yeah.
Like there's a friend of mine, a Wing Chun teacher, Stephen Chan, and on one of his books, he's standing there in the introduction wearing a shirt that says AIDS Busters, and it's the Ghostbusters logo, but with a bottom on it. And so a lot of Hong Kong humor about AIDS was very.
It's not
There's a
politically
Frankie
correct.
Chan movie
Yeah, yeah.
where someone has a bad rash and refers to it as AIDS Kung Fu and stuff, and you're like, okay, guys, I'm not politically correct, but come on. So,
yeah. They're not very
there's
politically
a-
correct in Hong Kong overall.
there's a lot of stuff on the category 3 that, like, from the sexy. I mean, like, you've got your Sex and Zens. There's a really cool movie called My Wife's Lover, starring Maria Mock, which is actually a kind of intelligent and well-handled tale of lesbianism, but with lots of like Playboy style channel nudity. The funny thing is, there's a movie called 20-something with Teddy Chen, and that was marketed as a cat-free sexy movie, where it's actually a very, very good drama about young people in Hong Kong dealing with their sexuality. But the way they sold it to get an audience was to play up the sexual aspect, and then people went, yeah, but actually it was a really good movie.
At one point, Hong Kong filmmakers tried to slap the Cat 3 rating on there just to sell the movie
as
well.
a selling point.
Yeah, I mean, in the video stores, they realized that category 3 movies rented more. So imagine going to Blockbuster and they've put NC-17 stickers on everything. Yeah, and you're going,
Top Gun, NC-17.
Exactly. And they'd hint that, maybe this is the full version. Maybe this is the thing. Because Hong Kong, we have no nudity on television.
We have no swearing on television either, literally.
So when I first arrived, one of the TV channels here was celebrating its 25th anniversary, TVB. And they said, we're going to show all these movies. And one of them was Emmanuel. And I was like, how the hell are they going to get away with showing Emmanuel? And then I went, wait a minute. They're showing Emmanuel at a 2:00 in the morning slot that's 60 minutes long.
Oh, gosh. Cut to hell.
So I went, okay, I'm going to stay up and watch this. And Emmanuel got on the plane to Thailand, and the plane landed. And I went, no need to watch any more of that movie. Yeah.
Well, what's really interesting is, remember when Ichi the Killer came out here and they cut like 30 minutes out of that movie?
Yeah.
Ichi the Killer is one I love. Takashi Miike is one of my favorite directors. Yeah. We would love to do more audio comms for Japanese films, by the way, if anybody's listening. But basically, Ichi the Killer is a crazy, violent Japanese film. People's faces getting cut off, and crazy stuff. Yeah, I love it. I love Ichi the Killer. And there's a Hong Kong version that was out for a while. I actually got it. I don't know where it is, but I just bought it because it's so ridiculous. They cut about 30 minutes out of that movie. It's so, and I watched it going, okay, here we go, because I've seen the uncut version. And I was laughing. I was like, the cuts are so brazen as well. You're just like,
because Hong Kong censorship is a very gray area. Like it's
really weird.
Like as we've said, you can swear in English in a Hong Kong movie.
Yeah, you can say fuck and all that stuff, no problem.
But you can't swear in Cantonese. If you swear in Cantonese, you immediately get an NC-17 rating, and they'll try and bleep it out as much as possible.
In many cuts of Dr. Lamb, it's bleeped out, the swearing.
So often in a Hong Kong movie, you'll have people swearing in English, but when they swear in Chinese, they're saying, you frickin' mother bother. Because it's like, we can't
you Billy
say
boy.
It.
Yeah.
So when we did the video game Sleeping Dogs, I'm recording all the audio tracks in Hong Kong, and the owner of the studio kept calling me up going, Mike, is there a problem? Because every time she'd turn on the feed from the studio, she would hear like Sammo Hung or Eric Chang swearing at their most extreme. Because we were like, yeah, we want the swearing. And if you've got more graphic versions of what you want to say, and Chinese swearing is an art form. Like,
it's really,
it's
really
like
crazy. Go die in the streets.
And it's like, and also it's like, I do this not only to you, but 7 generations back. And,
yeah.
So like, we had all this real full-on swearing going, and the people at the studio were like, is everything okay? I was like, yep, it's all good. It's for the game. And then when the game came out in Hong Kong, parents lost their mind because their kid's playing a video game and they walk in and there's their 7-year-old kid listening to a game where someone's going, "Motherfucker, I'm going to kill you right now." So
that's a really fun story,
censorship in Hong Kong is always weird. And there's with nudity, it's very weird, and also there's this bizarre thing of Hong Kong of it's okay for a guy to jump between category 2 and category 3 movies.
Yeah, that's so strange. Simon Yam.
But girls get labeled Shuke is still referred to as a former porn star, and you're like, she did Playboy and Penthouse style nudity, guys.
Yeah.
But nudity is such an issue here that it's very bizarre. It's very prudish.
That being said, the younger generation, like the 20-somethings-year-olds, are they're changing their attitude toward it a lot. Like Saliva Bridge is a very popular underground fashion label here, and they literally their whole label is based on embracing vices like Japanese pornography and gambling and everything else. So the younger generation, because I kind of I'm like 41 years old, but I come across a lot of the younger generation through either music shows or interviews that I do, and I always ask them how are you consuming your media? What's interesting to you guys? All this stuff. And I think because of their access to the internet and more global opinions and stuff like that, they're becoming a little less conservative when it comes to those things. Yeah. And again, Sliver Bridge, really popular brand around here. And they literally, their cornerstones are embracing gambling, Japanese pornography and everything else. And they made a t-shirt that was really popular. I don't know how much can we swear a lot on this?
As much as you want. Yeah.
This is what they made a t-shirt. This is the brand. There was on a lot of it saying "Fuck Boy Advance." They took the Game Boy Advance thing. They printed on sweaters, and tons of women were wearing it, and tons of guys, and everything else for a while. It was a big it was a thing here as well.
The funny thing here as well is some stuff people start wearing and then they don't realize what it means.
Yeah.
Recently, one actress had started wearing a Pornhub t-shirt and doing all these interviews until someone Googled it, and then she was suddenly a pariah. I'm like, oh my god! She was like, I just bought it because it looked funny. It looked nice. Yeah. So the funny thing is, we'll often get the thing where they'll make fun of people who joke about Westerners having random Chinese characters or something on their shirt or on tattoos, but you'll see it's not common to be on a bus and there's some 85-year-old Chinese woman wearing a shirt saying porn star or something, and you're going, does she have any idea what that means?
Yeah. That's I love it when you see the older ladies wearing stuff like that. You're like, whoa, hey. That's not what you think. Oh, but it looks cool. The graphics are good. No, but that means really different.
Right.
So it's very you got to be a bit careful with that stuff. So yeah.
Let's get to the fun part. I'm curious. Obviously, you guys are known for martial arts commentaries mostly. You're breaking out. You got Kino Lorber stuff coming out with Missing in Action. What do you really want to do? What is on the wish list that you're not
Japanese films? For? I want to do Japanese V cinema. That's what I really want to do. Mike, what do you want to do?
I would like to do Edwardian costume dramas.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
No. The same thing. There's so much at it.
More canon stuff. Yeah.
I'd love to do more canon because Canon is the reason I'm like this. I blame Canon for everything. Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
But I'd love to do more stuff like Canon. I'd love to do things like Bloodsport or
American Ninja 2.
American Ninja movies.
Yeah.
We love the Hong Kong movies. We love the martial arts movies, but we don't just watch them. We watch everything. So it's
I went to high school in Italy, and I consumed tons of Italian giallo films when I was there, and
nice.
I just had the gelato. It's
gelato, and Zombie Do It and all that stuff. I watched all that.
I want to do Nightmare City because I just rewatched that the other day.
Nightmare City is a crazy film. I think Nightmare City inspired Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, but
right.
But no, I think I said I'd love to do more horror. I'd love to. There's
some good Yakuza films, man.
Some of the Yakuza movies. I'd love to do some of the macaroni combat stuff because I think some of that's insane fun. It's and also there's some stuff we're doing a really cool 90s action movie this week. Like,
yes. Yeah.
like that. It's just one of them ones where it's just like, it's exactly a product of the 90s.
Yeah,
You just
it's so 90s. Yeah. It's good. It's the good parts, the fun parts in the 90s and stuff.
But no, there's so much. I mean, that's one like we're audio prostitutes. Just we'll do anything.
We'll do anything, darling. No, but like
exactly,
but basically, like I think it. But yeah, the Japanese stuff. You know what I would love? We've discussed this among ourselves, and even a little bit in audio commentaries. We would love for some label to go to Taiwan and find some really cool Taiwan films that are not even being subtitled or anything else, and release those, because that is a gold mine, man. Like we've kind of touched on some stuff through the Kung Fu, because there's some weird crossovers between Hong Kong and
I mean, Taiwan had its own kind of subgenres. It had like Taiwan black cinema, which is like the super violent gangster.
Yeah. Did Miss 45 get remade in Taiwan as well and things like that?
It's there's that. Like, I'd love to revisit anything by Chu Yenping and Clarence Ford, because
Clarence Ford's amazing.
You have to. Okay, basically, Chu Yenping is a director who. Okay, I'm going to make this movie, and this movie will be Some Kind of Wonderful meets American Ninja meets Scarface. And he did one movie called Hunting List, and it's basically State of Grace set in Taiwan, including all the Irish stuff. And I'm going.
Oh,
wait a minute! There's St. Patrick's Day parades in Taiwan, and he's like, yeah. I saw it in the movie.
You know what I would love to do? I'd love to do some of the IFD stuff, like Ninja Terminator, for example. Because getting Godfrey back. But we also know some people like we've been working on a documentary for years called Neon Grindhouse, which is about like the grindhouse cinema of Hong Kong. And basically, like we know a lot of people involved. It'd be fun to get a room full of like people who worked on the Godfrey stuff and just like chat and comment about all that, because. He got films from like a failed film from like say Taiwan or Korea, love story, and just spliced ninjas into there and like reshot extra footage and everything else. So to get like some of that coming in and like doing audio commentaries with those would be so much fun. And then the labels could even release it with just the stuff that you could have an option where it just plays the stuff that Godfrey shot or plays the entire film or whatever. That'd be fun.
IFD's Catman. And
that is crazy.
Australian superhero whose basic power is he can swear. Oh, and he can change the channel on TVs.
America's Batman, Hong Kong is Catman. We'll make it work, guys.
Crazy. That's the thing. There's so much. I mean, it's just, I'm just looking like right now.
Sonny Chiba films, like
the Sonny Chiba stuff. Like to revisit some of that. I'd love to revisit more of the Chuck stuff, because like you can never go wrong with Chuck. Like
Invasion USA, that'd be fun.
Invasion USA, for instance. I mean, like that movie's just so awesome. I'd love to revisit some of like Albert Pie and stuff. Do some more of Albert's.
Yeah. Double Impact. So we said before.
Like that,
that'd be fun.
That you just go. And what's been nice, say with Kino Lorber, etc., is we're getting to do stuff like it was great to revisit Hard Target, and then to do Braddock, and to do the other Chucks and everything. And there's other stuff that they've got on their books. I'm like, I want to do this, There's just, I said, we really, that's the problem. I think there's so much we'd love to revisit,
Right.
Can we talk? We did a European film recently. I don't know if we can say what it is, which one we did. Can we say it or no?
Which one was it?
I can't say that because we're in a podcast right now.
You got a private chat.
There was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
the thing that sounds like a dog. Yeah, like yeah.
Oh, you mean the puppy movie? Yes.
Yeah. Well, we
got to revisit.
I want to do more European things as well, because that's fun.
We got to revisit a very, very cool European movie.
Yeah.
So I'm old, and also it's like what is it? A European movie.
Well, can we say what it is? Well, what movie was it? I can't say what it is. We're on a podcast. Anyhow,
that was hilarious.
Man. But I'd like to do more European stuff. I don't know if we can say what movie that was. I don't know if this promote.
It was War and Peace.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was War and Peace. Audio commentary from Arne, Venema, Mike Leeder. Like,
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
For the
I
entire
don't even
French.
want to listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
but
that's the fun.
fun.
There's so much I just got to revisit Sword Kill, Ghost Warrior with Brandon for Kino Lorber. I mean, there you go. I mean, time traveling samurais. You can't go wrong with that. It's
ludicrous stuff is fun.
something I'd love to I'd love to do Break-In by Canon. I'd love to do Breakdance the movie Break-In. It's like
Breaking.
Yeah.
Like Jean-Claude's in that, isn't he?
Jean-Claude. That's the lost
Very
canon
briefly.
martial arts movie. Okay, you've got the student of a traditional style who meets two unorthodox masters of their own style. She trains with them, develops her own style, and at the same time meets Michel Kisei, aka Tong Bo, Jean-Claude, and then they go to a redneck bar where they meet the Chuck Norris stunt team. Yeah, it's
yeah. Talk about that. You know the weirdest thing that Mike ever said to me? He goes. Yeah, I was talking about video games. He goes, yeah. You know when they cheated Dance Revolution? I go, no, I don't know the way they cheated Dance Revolution. Why do you know this? And I've got this image in my head of Mike Leeder going like dance on the pads for Dance Revolution at the arcade halls. Because that would be a very strange
and what's
image
wrong
indeed.
with that?
I don't know. It just doesn't seem. I seem like he'd play like Street Fighter or something like that. It wouldn't be like the first.
No,
thing
I did used to take the guys from the Jackie Chan video game to play the Jackie Chan video game. Yeah, which was very weird because
that video was.
But no, I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's like TV series I'd love to revisit, do audio commentaries for. There's some movies there's a movie called By the Sword with Eric Roberts and F. Murray Abraham. I'd love to revisit. It's an awesome sword fencing movie. There's a movie called what the fuck is it? The name of the movie?
There's time.
It's a movie with Peter Coyote called Exposure.
Yeah,
and it's an art. It begins as an artistic movie about a photographer in South America. And then 10 minutes into the movie, he gets horrifically stabbed. So he tracks down Checky Cario to teach him knife fighting. And for 15 minutes, it becomes a knife fighting instructional. Like, if anyone in that movie was associated with action movies, it would be banned because for 15 minutes, he's telling you, no, underhand slash. Hold the knife under your hand so if they grab your wrist, you can still slice. Blah, 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 blah. And it's a really cool shot in South America, down and dirty, kind of like artistic vigilante movie. It's
there's some cool Indian films as well out there. I mean, there's some mad Indian films. There's a really crazy.
So many more Indian films. There's hardly anything getting released of that. And
there's a really crazy one called Mahakal, which is the Indian remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, which is really fun. There's another film that escapes my mind right now, but it looks like an 80s Hong Kong movie. It's so cool. The name escapes my mind, but it's about this guy. He starts off in a village, and later on he grows up to be a big gangster and it becomes this crazy gangster film, and it's shot beautifully. A lot of Indian films are shot really well because they're shot in 35 millimeter. They look gorgeous, and they had the manpower to make them look gorgeous. But a lot of stuff from the 80s and the 90s from India. There's some hidden treasures
Ryan,
there.
what movies would you like us to do the audio commentaries?
Yeah. What movies would you like us to do the audio commentaries for?
I mean, honestly,
if we like you, we will come to your house and do them in person.
I'm going to hold you to that. I would love to see more from the late 90s stuff that's other genres, because you guys, again, the whole friends hanging out aspect is what makes your commentary so interesting. So the 90s are so I don't want to really say underrated, but they're kind of underappreciated for what they actually gave to a lot of cinema. And if you look at especially the latter half of the 90s, they're not represented on a lot of these labels. So to get new stuff out there, it would be so nice to hear you guys on some of that stuff.
No, and I think that's the thing, that there are some movies that you just really do go, I think some of them, an audio commentary or special edition is the only way to see them, because it gives people the incentive to explore it. Because
absolutely,
sometimes you're going, oh, no, but you go, well, there's interviews and stuff on here, maybe I'll take that chance.
An awesome Hong Kong from the 90s I would love to do an audio commentary thing. I made videos about it, and I've done everything, would be Biozombie. I love Biozombie. The first Hong Kong celebrity I ever really met was Sam Lee. It was in a club called Magazine here, which is gone. And I started talking about movies, and he was like, "Oh, this is nice." I was like, "Yeah, I love Beast Coast. I love you in Biozombie." And he just like went, "Oh yeah, Biozombie, zombies." He's doing all the zombie stuff and everything else in the middle of the club. I was like, "This is great." We end up talking about music and everything else, but Biozombie, that's a big one that I want to do, like an audio commentary.
In that case, I want to do Biocops.
Biocops is a terrible freaking movie. Like Biocops was Wong Jing going, "Aha, Biozombie's good. I will make Biocops."
Exactly, and they shot Biocops in 7 days because it's like
Biocops is Biocops like the zombie things have become big, and he tanked it with that. So Biozombie, it's like, I don't know if you've heard about this film. It's like Dawn of the Dead, but in a Hong Kong mall.
Yep.
So it's
and they're selling pirate VCDs.
Yeah, and video games in the movie. Yeah. And that mall's actually. That mall's really close to where I live, so it's I'd love to see, if I could, I'd love to see the Troublesome Night films, but I don't think those are ever going to come out because 1 to 6, especially Herman Yao directed them, who did like all the films, but I don't know if there's an audience for that in the West. I'm not sure because that's Simon Loy and all that stuff, and one of my favorites.
That's the problem, that it's sometimes trying to release a movie to introduce people to like Story of Ricky or say Seven Curse is a great introduction to a lot of people for a category 3 movie, because you're going, come on guys, there's recognizable stuff in it. We're going to take you on a wild ride. Some of those movies, if you release them without a precursor, people are just going to go, I don't get. Like The Troublesome Night, you've got to be so used to Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah,
because like one of the mad things of Hong Kong, like we've discussed before, is like when you first come to Hong Kong, you'll see people burning money for the dead. You're like, okay. Then you'll see people burning cardboard replicas of Blu-ray players so that I will have a Blu-ray player in the afterlife. And then you'll see Arne burning a cardboard Amy Yip so that Amy Yip will accompany me in the afterlife.
She makes money off those too, by the way, those cardboard things.
And it's true. And then like there's a place in Hong Kong where a group of old ladies sit, and I can go there and I can write Arne Venema's name on a piece of paper, and the women will start beating it with their shoe to bring Arne bad luck. Not that I've ever done that, Arne. Yeah. No. I was like, fall off a skateboard though, like
Can I talk? I literally was skateboarding on a normal in a parking lot somewhere, and like everything was fine, and this random piece of trash got in between the trucks and the wheels of the skateboard, and I fell forward off the skateboard, and my shoulder hit the concrete like a jackhammer, man. Was crazy. The worst. Oh, the guy I was skateboarding with was Mike Chan, not the Michael Chan, the from all the Triad films, but Michael Chan, who's been in a bunch of other Hong Kong films, and he did a film called Sifu versus Vampire. That would be a fun one in audio commentary for, because it's absolutely mad, that movie. So, he plays a vampire in that.
And Mike Chan's just a very interesting character at the best.
Yeah.
There's so many. Yeah.
I'm keen to give you your days back. I don't want to take all of your time from you. The big question: what has been announced that you want to get people excited for? Is there a list of stuff that you know that you got coming up?
Oh well, Yes, Madam. So, it's really cool.
Yeah, Yes, Madam, and Royal Warriors.
Royal Warriors. Yeah.
Which were great to revisit, and I said there's going to be some cool special features on there from us.
Yes, locations on that. Yeah.
I said so for Kino Lorber, we were able to contribute to the Braddock release. I'd have loved to have done all three.
Yeah,
but,
I love.
But they got the directors involved for the first two. I mean, what do they know?
Most guys.
It's like then Sword Kill, which is coming out, which is me and Brandon Bentley. Then there's, I said we're doing a very cool movie this week. All I can say is it involves a mullet.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna announce it this week.
Nice.
And there's a bunch of other stuff that we've got that's still coming out from other companies. Sometimes the hard thing is we don't always know the release dates.
A new One-Armed Swordsman as well from TVP.
Yeah, new One-Armed Swordsman in Germany. From the Crazy Vengeance label.
Nice.
Hi, Mirko.
Which Mirko, work out how to have a website that people can use. Mirko, basically, you have to journey into the House of Traps and overcome various obstacles to order movies.
But respect to Mirko, he gave us our first audio commentary.
Yeah. No,
wow.
Mirko's awesome, but he's just sometimes you're like, Mirko, you do know people need to buy the movies. Yeah, like if you made your interface a little bit more user friendly, it would help things.
Germany's got a lot of those that just they don't advertise a lot of them well.
Well, I think sometimes because a lot of the German titles are, shall we say, gray areas.
Americans are all legit. I think the reason is that when they sign the contracts, there's parallel import issues, right? So if you release it in Germany, you're not supposed to release it in the United States of America, and that's probably why their websites.
And that's also something that sometimes I don't think people get, because you often get people going, "Oh, how come this release doesn't have English subtitles?" Like, because I've licensed it for France.
It's not for you.
If I license with English subtitles, I've got to pay for all the other territories that can use it. And it's like when people started complaining, like, "Oh, well, Eureka's already released this movie. Why is 88 releasing it in America? Or why is Vinegar Syndrome releasing this?" And you go, they're different territories, guys.
Yeah.
It's, it's not a conspiracy. It's not a global conspiracy. It's just...
It's how business. It's a movie business still.
Yeah,
it's how the business
I've got the rights
works
for this movie. And it can, okay, look at when they did the Watchmen movie, 20th Century Fox had spent all that money making the movie, and then someone at Warner Brothers went, you do know we still own the US distribution rights.
Yeah.
You sometimes sit there and you find someone snuck in and bought all these movies and have never released them. Like Warner's in 1996 acquired a shed load of Hong Kong movies, but some of the most random choices of movie, and because they've got like category free movies, right? They've got Pedicab Driver, they've got some really cool movies, but they've done kind of nothing with them. And like I know Jeff Briggs at Warner Brothers is trying to get them to release more, but the same thing, people also forget, if you don't support the releases, companies go, "Oh, there's no market for these films," and won't release them.
Cancel.
And I think sometimes that is the issue, that it's easy to sit there and go blah blah blah. But I remember the days where you'd be like, "Okay, well, I've bought this version and it's all in Chinese. Oh, now I'm going to have to buy this version because it's got English subtitles. Right. Oh, this one's got that." Like, and there are some films I have like far too many copies of from far too many different places, just because I'm an idiot and I'm like, I like the cover, I like the thing, and bizarrely I have about 10 copies of Saw 4, which I'm still absolutely not sure how I keep getting.
I don't know why you have so many copies of that movie, but I think overall, I think we should conclude, though, we should be very aware how lucky we are to live in an age with Blu-ray discs, full frame.
Oh no, I mean,
we don't have like shit cut off the sides.
I always
are gorgeous.
If you'd said to me when I left England,
that
one day Keanu Reeves, the guy from Bill and Ted, is going to be known for doing a kung fu movie. Sammo Hung is going to have a #1 rated TV show in America. That all these Hong Kong movies are going to be available, not only beautifully letterboxed, but with original audio, subtitles, interviews, special features, multiple cuts. I'd never believe you.
Right.
Because those were the days when like, I remember when you would go to Chinatown and the shops would refuse to sell you stuff. Because they'd be like, "Oh, no.
And I'd also give a shout out to like Darren Wheeling and Kung Fu Bob for the crazy cover artwork. It just helps breathe new life. I mean, I love the cover art of some of the original films. Some of them are not that good, but some of them are really great. But it helps breathe new life in that. And in the labels, they don't have to pay for that. Okay,
right?
No,
they do that because they care. That's why.
It's the same thing like we've touched on before and joked about with marketing. Like, the funny thing is, like, sometimes people complain about retitles or anything. Okay, if you took the Shaw Brothers movie Dirty Ho, still one of the greatest titles and greatest tagline, "You haven't lived until you've fought Dirty Ho, and then you're dead." But if you went, "I'm going to re-release that, but I'm going to put it back to its original Chinese language title, which is The Eighth Prince," fans would be up in arms because you weren't using the original title. And you sometimes go, "Guys,
a big one I want to do an audio commentary for is Master of the Flying Guillotine." That's if I have to do no other kung fu movie ever again, and you go, what's the last kung fu movie you ever do? Master of the Flying Guillotine. It's my favorite kung fu film, made in Taiwan. So like, I love that movie. Yeah, really good, great movie. So
amazing.
I love it a bit.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I said it's great to revisit these movies.
Yeah,
it's great to be able to revisit them with Arne, because even if we're not doing commentaries, we're talking about movies.
Talk about movies. Yeah.
And and it's great to get feedback from people. It's great to hear when people like them. It's great to hear sometimes that people have heard about a movie from something we've mentioned and then gone off and tracked on that movie.
That's really good.
Message me and go, "Oh, you guys mentioned this movie," and then I went off and looked for that, or and that's the way it should be. Like,
it's really funny. Someone on Instagram, literally on my Instagram yesterday, I posted the what was I going to say? Close Account, the Dead and the Deadly, the audio com we did for that, and someone wrote under that, "Oh, that's one of your other audio comms. I'm going to track down Troublesome Night, 24 Hours, Ghost Story, and like all these other films we mentioned." And he goes, "Yeah, people actually do listen and write stuff down, and they chase after it. So maybe one day there will be a market for these things if enough people do that."
And I would like to say, I would like to thank the guys at the movie aisle who, my God, they not only listen to our commentaries, they listened in depth.
Yeah, they listen in depth. Yeah.
Holy shit! Because I was reading a review, talked about half of this. Yeah.
We gotta say, we've done kind of like some of the people we interview. We've done so many of these audio comms. Some people ask us to write stuff down that we said. We go, "Did we say that?" Like, because we sometimes do 2 or 3 audio comms in like a week or something like that. So sometimes we're just like, what's the most audio comms we've done in 1 week? Is it 4 or no? Or
I think we did 4 1 week.
Yeah. I think we did 4 in 1 week. That's the most we ever did. So
that was much as we like each other's company, sometimes we're like, no, that's enough. I don't want to be locked in the room with you anymore.
Yeah.
Well, if you're watching like their company, go listen to some of their audio commentaries and interviews, because they're magical. And again, that shooting the shit, sitting down on the couch, hanging out with these guys, best way to learn the context. And it's hard to use the word educational because it turns some people off, but genuinely, it's just to learn. There's so much cinema out there to learn. You guys are just
and the same thing. I listen to audio commentaries. I've learned. So it's another form of learning. It's another form of getting more information about these movies.
It's film appreciation is what it is, and it's hang out and just like showing your love for cinema, And if it gets, who knows? The ultimate thing for us, I think, would be, well, for me, maybe Michael will say the same thing, is one day someone watched these things and they themselves ended up making movies and they go, "Oh, I got into these kind of movies because these guys were talking about it." That for me would be like the ultimate.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. And it's, like I sometimes, same thing is, I can't understand why people are reluctant to admit that, "Oh, I was introduced to this movie like this. I was introduced to that." Like, I didn't grow up as a fan of Kung Fu movies. I hated Kung Fu movies. And then I bunked off school with my friends and we watched a double bill of Snake and Eagle Shadow and Drunken Master. And that made me a fan. I was like, holy shit, I've got to watch these movies. The same way I was never a fan of Bruce Lee because the UK edits of Bruce Lee I saw were really badly edited.
Right.
It was only when I was in Hong Kong, we were talking about it, and Sammo Hung heard me say that I didn't like Bruce Lee movies. And the next day I was given the privilege of sitting in Sammo's office with him showing me Bruce Lee movies and telling me why Bruce Lee had changed the world and changed cinema. And I was like, this is genius. This is fantastic. And you go, he's like, there's so much you can learn and there's so much you can share. And, it's just great. It's a privilege to be able to do them. It's great fun doing them and just
keep the culture alive, man, by doing it. That's a privilege. Like,
keeps the interest, and us buying these are what allows it to keep going too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and these companies are paying to do things and restore them and everything else. And the funding in right now in Hong Kong, or the interest in Hong Kong, is not there for that. So, the companies in America and the UK and Germany and wherever else, France, they're the ones.
I mean, in Hong Kong, to try and get a company to put extras on a film is almost impossible. They're like, if we've shot a making of, okay, we'll maybe slip it on there.
We're done. Yeah.
You talked about, well, we're going to do interviews, we're going to do audio commentaries. They're like, why? Yeah. Why would you?
It's a weird
yeah.
thing. It's a weird
So,
thing.
yeah.
But anyway.
Yes, being appreciative of what we have is one of the best ways that we could end this. So thank you guys for all your time. Thank you for
Thanks for having us.
all your work.
Thank you for having us on. It's been a
amazing.
pleasure, sir.
I hope you'll come back. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Love to.
We'll talk
Thanks,
again
Ryan.
soon. Have a good one.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.